Greetings, everyone. My name is Jonathan Bailey. I'm from the website Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. And today I want to talk about the Jumi Bello plagiarism story, which happened to me, a sentence I never thought I would be saying in this position this week. Now, before I begin, a few notes. Yes, I made multiple attempts to restart this channel and do videos. Unfortunately, the time, even for short ones like this, is really high. And when I get burdened with client work, like I have been for the past few months, there's just not any time. I've got to put client work and day life in front of me. So I'll promise to do videos when I can, but yeah, it's one of those things where I have to put my business, my family, and everything else first. I'm sorry about that. I do love doing videos and I really love the interaction I get. It's just so difficult to find the time with so much else going on. Also, I'm not 100% sure I'm publishing this video. The reason I say that is because I don't know. We're at the end of the week. I kind of wanted to sit down and talk about it a little bit and have some thoughts and, get this out there. And if I put it up, great. If I don't, well, maybe I'll put it in my own personal archives to come back to when I'm a little bit older and maybe having a little trouble remembering. But I do want to talk about this case because it's been very educational to me. And I want to start with talking about how I learned about it and then go through kind of how the week unfolded for me. Now, anyone who's a reader of my site, my work, knows that most days I put out a 3-count column. I do it 4 days a week. A 3-count column and usually a main full-length PT post every day. So I wake up every morning. The first thing I do, kind of my tradition for about a decade now, is I go through and I collect all the copyright and plagiarism related news that I can find on the planet. I use Google News, I use various sites I follow. Basically, try to get all the stories I can. Some of the copyright oriented ones get shunted into the 3-count. Some of the beefier ones might get set aside for potential additional research for full PT post, either that day or a later day. And I actually keep a full window of browser tabs open just of sites that I am reviewing, wanting to research more on, considering for posts, etc. So this is me filling that well of stuff to talk about. And yeah, I did that on Monday. And one of the things I came across very quickly in my searches, because it was on LitHub, was the original essay by Jumi, talking about how she um, was apologizing and explaining why she plagiarized her first book. Now, I was unfamiliar with Jumi Bello before this, to be 100% clear. I still know very little about her. I do know she was a highly anticipated, up and coming author getting ready to release her first book this summer. I think it was June. And it got abruptly canceled in February. And there were a lot of people who were kind of left in a lurch wondering what happened. And this was her essay as an attempt to explain that and talk about it. However, when I loaded the essay up, it was gone. It was not there. And I thought that was a little weird. But it does happen sometimes. Things go down on the internet. I checked to make sure it wasn't the LitHub website. It wasn't. I checked a few other things. It wasn't that. And I said, okay, put this in the back burner, go through, do everything else for the 3-count. I come back to try to read it. And at this point, my interest was purely like my ongoing interest in understanding why people plagiarize. This has always been a key point of contention and frustration for me in the past 17 years. It's an issue that I'm no closer to understanding now than I was, 15 plus years ago. I'm no closer on this. And it's mind boggling. And maybe I should do a separate video on that because it's a very interesting issue. But anyways, I decided I probably can't write about it because it's gone and you can't really link to things that aren't there. But I go and I find the copy in the Google Cache because I'm still trying to read it for my own information. And so I read the essay. It was about 4,700 words long. I read it, and then early on, I see the section about the potion Marshall, and to spare the full details, the first quote-unquote plagiarism case ever recorded in history actually happened about 80 AD or so, happened in the Roman Empire. And the poet Marshall was accusing another poet of ripping him off. And basically, it was not a case that centered on attribution. It centered around money, which it shows how cultural norms have changed in this space since then. But it was an interesting story. It's one of my top 20 to 30 posts on Plagiarism Day. So I'm very familiar with the information. And I recognize the information as possibly being from my site because I don't claim any ownership of it. In fact, my original article of it, I'm going to link it in the description, has tons of links in it to sources where I got stuff from. I didn't know all this. I wasn't born knowing this. I got it from other places, so I don't claim any ownership on the facts. So I didn't think too much of it, though. I kind of did feel a little bit like it probably came from my site. She should have, would have been nice if she just given me a link, a little love. But I wasn't going to make any kind of a fit about it or anything. I wasn't worried about it. So, anyways, I finished reading that, set it aside, do another search. This time, the Gawker piece comes up. And the Gawker piece had apparently come online in the gap there. And that's when I learned why the post was removed. And then I looked at Gawker's side by side comparisons and I realized that, yeah, that was plagiarized from my site. I didn't recognize it as plagiarized from my site at the moment for two reasons. The first being one, it's an 11-year-old post. I write 8 posts a week. I can barely remember what I wrote last week or the week before. God help me trying to remember something from 11 years ago. There's just no way. It's not going to happen. So I didn't remember it, the exact verbiage I used. But also, she did a pretty heavy rewrite. But when you look at them side by side, the beats and the notes, I'll imagine that's in the Gawker article. Once again, I'm going to link to everything I'm referencing below. And I'll probably have screenshots here if I remember to edit this. So yeah, and I'm like, oh, and then I kind of connected the dots on what happened. And I went and I told my girlfriend. My girlfriend also works from home, and I asked, talked to her about it because I really was genuinely unsure what to do, because now I'm go from being this plagiarism expert to being a plagiarism victim, and to be clear, I'm not super mad about it. In fact, I've never been really angry about it, and I'll get into that in a minute. But and I have no real ill will, but yeah, in a minute. But the point is, I talked to her and she's like, well, I guess I've got to respond to this. So that was when I drafted my post on the topic, which I'll also link. But and the story between Gawker, my post, and the Associated Press covering it just blew up. It went more viral than anything I have been involved with in 16, nearly 17 years of running the site. It was bananas. I've gotten easily a month and a half's worth of traffic in the past 3 days, or in the past 4 days, to give you an idea. And even today on Friday, we're still about 2x the normal daily traffic. It's been absolutely bonkers how it went down. Um, So yeah, see, the AP report came out. They didn't mention me, and that was kind of a good and a bad thing for me. I really was not looking to make hay off of this, and I'm still not. But I do kind of want to spread some of the lessons from it too. So I'm trying to ride that line between, making hay and really benefiting from this, but also trying to put it to some good use. So yeah. Anyways, the AP story didn't mention, but the New York Times did a report that did, and that one went pretty viral too and got well out there. So yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and on into Thursday were very, very crazy days for me. Today's kind of starting to return to normal. I've had a lot of requests for interviews from reporters, but interestingly, only one place has called to interview me about this particular story. In fact, I've got a couple news interviews coming out, hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks, about other things, because I think a lot of journalists just learned I exist. Oh, there's this guy that does plagiarism stuff. Great. We're gonna well, we should interview him. And so I think that's what's been going on. They're working on plagiarism stories that are unrelated, and they just learned of my existence, and that's fine. That's great. I'm always happy to help journalists. So if you do need help, reach out to me through my contact form. I make helping journalists a priority. But yeah, so this brings me to today. Things are calming down. The dust is settling. There may be a little more this weekend. I can't really talk about why just yet. I'd be better off probably doing this video tomorrow, but this is when I have time, I'm afraid. So you'll get the slightly incomplete picture. But yeah, what are my feelings? What are my thoughts? Where do I sit? Good question. Really good damn question. Um, First thought to be clear about is I don't have any animosity or any ill will or hatred against Bello. I'll be clear about that. I'm not mad. We're at the end. We're talking about two paragraphs from an 11-year-old post. It's not harming me in any appreciable way. Um, and it was heavily rewritten. And I also genuinely believe, as and I talk about this more, and I do encourage you to read my first post on this, that Bello thought she was doing right by me. I really think she believed that. And the reason I say that is because when you read her essay and her writing style methodology, it involves a lot of copying and pasting and rewriting from other sources and quote unquote making it her own. She uses that expression a lot in the essay. And that's not how writing or paraphrasing works at all. I've written multiple pieces on this. And one of the more fortuitous things that happened because of this was an article I'd written 4 days before called How to Actually Avoid Plagiarism, which is I think, one of the better articles I've written in recent history of the site. It originally came out and kind of died on the vine. And I was okay with that. It was going to be a long term sort of a cornerstone piece. But now with this, that article's gotten a lot of attention, and I've gotten a lot of requests from teachers and schools and superintendents and educators of all stripes and all levels wanting to use that article in class. And if you're one of those, if you're watching this going, hey, that sounds like a great idea, just do it. You don't even need to ask permission. I assume you're going to attribute it. If you attribute it, have fun. Godspeed, go forth, teach unto the wind. Have a good time. That's why it's literally there, is so that people who need an article like that can use it. So that's been one of the real positives of this for me. Also, like I said, a lot of journalists learning who I am has been a real positive for me. The negatives of it, I think, are that the story is kind of a joke in a weird way, and I didn't help things here. Coming clean. The headline I used was Plagiarism Today Plagiarized and Plagiarism Tone an Essay. And yeah, I mean, it's exactly what happened. But the story, I think, the reason it went so viral was because of that meta-ness to it, that snake eating its own tail moment. And yeah, my hope is that a lot of the people who discover, at least some of the people who have discovered me through this, will start to take the work I do and start to take the issues very seriously, in spite of this maybe being a little more of a, or a lot more of a funny story rather than a serious, matter of plagiarism. And the other thing that's kind of been a negative for me is I've gotten some real rough lessons about what it's like to be on the victim side of this. And to be clear, I'm not hurting. I'm not upset. I'm not mad. I've lost zero sleep over this. I'm fine. But I'm also a plagiarism expert, 16 years experience, been doing this a long time. I know what's up. I know these ropes very, very well. So of course I'm okay. I worry more about a author that's never experienced this before. What if you're just an academic that finds yourself in this position, or if you're a budding novelist who finds yourself here? What happens then? And that's a tough question. And like I said, other only one publication has reached out to me to talk about this case, and that'll be Saturday that you hear about that. And there won't be much, but it will be going out on Saturday. But other than that, no journalist. Now, admittedly, after I published my statement, I really wasn't expecting it or needing it, but most of the media coverage happened before my statement went up. I'm glad the New York Times pulled from my statement, and glad other places that came after them did too. So I have no beef, no issue with that. It's interesting that there's this plagiarism story, everyone's talking about it, and there's so little discussion about the person that was plagiarized. Like, I don't think I should dominate the conversation. I'm definitely not the focus of the story. Please don't get it wrong. But shouldn't I have a seat at the table? Shouldn't I at least be a part of the story? Um, if I choose to be, of course. If you choose not to be, that's a separate matter. But especially since I'm already a plagiarism expert, would think there'd be more outreach, but no. I received almost no outreach about this story. Pretty much all the media requests I've got have been about other things, which I'm happy to do. But yeah, just worth noting. So, what this has left me and where I'm going from here. First, well, to continue what I just said, I've gotten an interesting flavor on what it's like to be on the victim side. I definitely, I definitely am going to take that to heart. I have a lot of things I'm going to do over the next weeks and months, probably. It won't be immediate. I've got to put some thought and some time into this to try and give resources for victims. I've always been anti plagiarism, but it's time for me to be a little more or a lot more pro victim. That's a lesson I learned here. The second thing, though, that I've really pulled from this is there's a lot of people out there at all levels of academia that do not understand how to write. They might understand the rules of grammar, they might understand how to construct a sentence, a paragraph, to format an essay, but they don't know the actual process of writing. So many seem to think that you write by sitting down, copying and pasting huge chunks of text in, rewriting it, and then that makes it your own. And let's be clear, Bello has a PhD. She is a doctorate. She's a doctor. And she still thinks this. That may seem clinically insane, but it's also not just her. In fact, this week alone, I have been confronted by at least 3 other cases of plagiarism that fit that exact bill. Bello is not unique in her thinking like this. And I've got a lot of questions about why this is the case, what is going on. I've got a lot of thoughts on it, and I've got a lot of research and some work to do here, basically. So those are going to be the 2 things I pull from this. One is going to be trying to find better ways to support victims of plagiarism. The second is going to be trying to find ways to disabuse this idea of of copy and paste and rewrite being how you write original work. It just flatly isn't. So that's my plate probably for the summer right there. And yeah, it's been a wild week, I'm not going to lie to you. I want to take a minute though, and I do want to say thank you to everyone on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, all social media who have just said amazingly kind things to me and have been very praising of how I've handled this. Um, it means a lot. It has been very intense. Um, I have not slept as much this week as I probably should. I have been under a lot of stress, and hearing your kind words, hearing your thanks and your praises and all that means so much. Thank you. I know I can present a hard veneer sometime, but it really means the world to me. And to Bello herself, uh, I'm not mad. I'm not upset. And if you want help in changing your writing style and avoiding future issues like this, my door is open. I will help gladly. I harbor no ill will. I think that what happened here is as much a symptom of the way people are taught way young people in particular are taught writing today. And I think that the place you start changing that is at the tip of the spear. So maybe that's where we begin. So Bello, if you're out there, Jimmy, if you're out there and you want my help for any reason, please do not hesitate to shoot me an email, give me a call. I'd love to be able to help you. So on that note, everyone, I'm capping off a crazy week. Thank you very much. I appreciate once again all the kind words, all the support, all the love. It's been incredible this past week, and I will see you guys next time.